Welcome everyone to the Chicago Football Connection podcast. I'm your host, Steve Letizia. You can follow me on Twitter at CFC Bears. I know it's been a long time since I've done one of these All-22 breakdowns. I've just been very busy with work, so I really apologize. Things should be calming down at this point in the year, so I should be able to do this weekly again. Also, I'm doing the post-game shows with Luke, and we should be doing a pregame show next week as well. So happy to get back. Really looking forward to getting back onto a schedule. But this week I thought about doing a whole team breakdown, but really all anyone cares about is Justin Fields, and that's really all I care about too. Because if Justin Fields doesn't develop, then we're going into another rebuild, and I don't want to do that. So we're just going to be focusing on Justin Fields today, taking a look at things he did well, things he didn't do well. And when I watched the game live, I did think he played pretty well. There were definitely some things he missed when I went back and watched, but there are also some things that he did extremely well, and things that he did that other quarterbacks just can't do well because of his athleticism, because of his arm talent. That's all there, but there were some things he missed in terms of reading a defense and throwing guys open and stuff like that. So let's get it up. Before we get started, this show is sponsored by BetUS. So we finally have a sponsor. BetUS is doing a 125% bonus to any deposit you make this week. So if you put $100 in, you get an additional $125 back. If you put $200 in, you get an additional $250 to gamble with. So I'll put the link to that in the description here. So make sure to use that link when you sign up, and then you get that 125% bonus. All right. Okay, so this was the first drive of the game. We're going to start with a bad one. This first drive of the game, it's a two-man route. The Bears actually ran a lot of just two-man routes in this game with max protection. It didn't always work, but it actually did work on this play. They did have good protection here. They just have a simple crosser from Kmet, and then you have Mooney on a dig route. His first read is going to be the crosser here. If that's not open, you go back to the dig route on the opposite side. Theory being is the crosser is going to open up the middle of the field for that dig to come in behind him. At the bottom of the screen, you have your five offensive linemen. You also have Trayvon Wesco, who's going to be blocking the whole way. And then you have Equinemius St. Brown, who's going to chip, get out into the flat. And then you have Dave Montgomery, who's also going to go into the flat here. It's almost designed to look like maybe a screen at the bottom of the screen here. And that draws pretty much all these linebackers over here. And the middle of the field is pretty open. This guy, they're just in man coverage, can pretty much cover one. This guy, takes away the crosser here. Fields sees that, and he actually comes back to this dig route as he should, and he just doesn't throw it. Now, this is Mooney here. I would describe him as NFL open here. He wasn't, wide open, but he was open, and the ball should have been thrown. So let's see what that looks like. With the play action, see Kmet, the crosser there. He's not open. Fields actually goes to his second read, which is good, getting through his reads. He's not just scrambling after the first read isn't open, which is good to see. And you can see there, he sees him. He's got a great pocket. So this is one of the few times in this game where he actually had a really good, nice pocket. He has enough time to step up and throw. And I know what everyone's going to say is that he's not open, but not everyone's going to be wide open in the NFL. Sometimes you have to make these throws in a contested situation. He's got him boxed out here. He's got this whole middle of the field to lead him. Maybe you just lead it out here into the middle of the field. If you overthrow him a little bit, it's an incompletion, but you can put this ball where only the receiver can get it, and that's what he needed to do here. Fortunately, he decides not to throw it. I think what he's thinking here is with the Washington in man coverage here, pretty much across the board with just one single high deep safety, and you have a lot of guys over here. I think what he's thinking is I could throw this ball and it's could be completed for a decent gain, or I can get it to the outside and I have room to run for days. So I know what he was thinking in his head, but I still feel like that throw needs to be made. We can see it from the other angle. He ends up getting sacked here. So that is definitely a sack that's not on the offensive line. The offensive line gave him a great pocket. We do have 6 guys blocking because Trayvon Wesco is going to be blocking here. He's not going out on a route. Really good protection from Borom and Jenkins. Even Sam Mustipher's got his guy on the ground. That doesn't happen all the time. Good news is Lucas Patrick didn't have anyone to block on this play. That's probably why it was a good pocket. But you can see a very good pocket here. Let's rewind it just a little bit, as you'll see him go through his progressions. Go through his reads. He starts with Kmet. That's not open. Go back to the dig. Sets his feet really good there. Almost pulls the trigger, but just doesn't. And then he's going to try and scramble. Like I said, we saw from the other girl, he did have room to run if he was able to get to the outside. But again, that's the throw you got to make. Not everyone in the NFL is going to be wide open for a touchdown. Sometimes you got to make those tight window throws, and I think he did have Mooney there open. All right, so this next play is a little bit later in the game. It's a 3rd and 4 situation, I believe it's definitely third down. I believe it's 3rd and 4. And it's a play that Justin Fields got criticized for his decision making on this play, and I don't agree with it. I believe he made the right decision here. So the pass wasn't completed, but I believe he did make the right. So this play, you have Dante Pettis at the top of the screen. He's going to be running shallow cross. A lot of people wanted Fields to take that route there because they probably would have gotten the first down. But this route is basically the check down. It's the last route in the read. He's reading this play from right to left, and his first read was open, so that's why I went there. Kmet is going to run just a curl in the middle of the field, but the concept that this play is designed for, and the concept that Fields throws to, and the concept that worked is the switch vertical at the bottom of the screen. So you have Economist St. Brown on the outside, Darnell Mooney in the slot here. Economist St. Brown is going to push up field and run a deep post, and Darnell Mooney is going to run kind of a wheel vertical route to the outside. Economist St. Brown is designed. His route is basically just designed to get the safety, hold the safety in the middle of the field, and also get in the way of the cornerback who's defending Darnell Mooney and allow Mooney to get open. So that's the switch vertical at the bottom of the screen here. That is where Fields decides to throw the ball to. He gets one-on-one coverage. It was the right decision. It was just an incomplete pass, but a good opportunity and a good play here. You'll see that Dante Pettis here does come open late, but as I mentioned, he's reading this play from right to left, so he's not getting and Mooney was open, so he threw the ball to Mooney. He's not getting to Pettis until much later on in the progression. So that's why that play was made. So we can play this now. See what it looks like. Watch the switch vertical at the bottom of the screen here. You'll see Equinemius St. Brown is going to try and get in the way of that cornerback. Maybe could have done a little bit better job there to brush him a little bit more. But you see Darnell Mooney is on one-on-one coverage, no safety over the top. Got maybe half a step, not a huge separation here, but you got the safety in the middle field. He's not in play here. You got a lot of room to kind of throw this ball to complete that. It would have taken a great throw and a great catch, but it was, in my opinion, the right decision. You also see you have Dante Pettis right here, who was coming on that shallow cross. Obviously, that play would have been completed if he threw it to him. We would have gotten the first down, but I have no problem with Justin Fields taking that shot on this play, given the coverage, given the route combination that was designed for, given that was the first read on the play. I have no problem throwing that. Almost completed, just a little bit overthrown. That's he also did a good job of throwing that to his outside shoulder too, because as I mentioned, that safety was in the middle of the field. But if he leaves that over, too much towards the hash marks, that's going to be potentially intercepted. But he throws it to the outside shoulder, just an incomplete pass. But I know people are going to be looking at that Dante Pettis route and criticizing Fields for not throwing that. As you can see, I believe that was the right decision and a good decision by Justin Fields. All right, so moving on. So these plays are not necessarily in order of when they occurred during the game. I'm kind of just doing a good play, bad play, good play, bad play as we go through this. So the last play was a good play, at least a good decision by Justin Fields. This, I believe, is a bad decision by Justin Fields. So we got Kmet coming in motion here. I'm going to let him settle in, and then I'll draw it up for you. So what we got here is we have a go route, 9 route at the bottom. You have that's Dante Pettis. You have Economist St. Brown running a deep crosser. Didn't draw that great, but that's all right. And then you got Kmet running shallow cross, and then you have Darnell Mooney running middle of the field dig there. So not anything too crazy in terms of scheme for the Bears here. But what you do have with Washington is you got man coverage across the board pretty clearly. Everyone kind of manned up on them, and then you got a middle of the field safety here. So single high safety. The Commanders actually ran a lot of single high, so it's surprising that the Bears didn't really take advantage of that. With the front 7, front 6 here, you have obviously defensive lineman rushing the passer, and then you have this guy blitzing, and this guy kind of doing a spy on Justin Fields, making sure they're running man coverage. He wants to make sure that Justin Fields doesn't take off and run for a big gain here. So they're showing that pre-snap. It's very obvious. They're not trying to disguise anything. Maybe with a spy a little bit, but for the most part, they're showing cover one, single high safety, pre-snap. So because of that, let's draw the routes again. Because of that, what they're showing, that's a really bad route. Try that again. Because of what they're showing, the appropriate response for Justin Fields should be to find Dante Pettis here on this go route. Because you have one-on-one coverage on the outside. You have a guy in the middle, a safety just in the middle of the field. You have not getting bracketed. You have no safety help over the top. That should have been your first read. If that's not open, then you can work down to the comeback routes, or not sorry, the comeback routes, the crossers, or even that deep crosser potentially. But that should have been his first read based on the coverage that Washington lined up in. Obviously, post snap, he needs to make sure that they're not disguising anything. So he needs to look at that safety, see if he's dropping into the middle of the field, or maybe they're disguising it to drop to kind of like a cover two shell. So he should be looking at this guy right here. If he drops into the middle of the field, you got to throw this go route. Fortunately, he does not throw that go route. Like Dante Pettis having a step. See, he's pretty open on this. He's got at least one, potentially two. You have so much room to throw this ball. This has to be thrown. It might not be completed every time. He's got a decent pocket too. Oops. Got a decent pocket. He has enough time to step up in the pocket, and he's got a wide receiver open for once. The safety, as I mentioned, you got to look at that safety to make sure that he actually does go into that middle of the field, and they aren't disguising anything. But right off the snap, him drop right in the middle of the field. He kind of even goes a little bit with the crosser there, which is exactly why that crosser's in there. You have him at the bottom of the screen, wide open. Maybe it's an incomplete pass, but you have to throw that ball. You've got this exact situation that you're looking for to throw that go out. He doesn't do it. Unfortunately, he waits a little bit longer before coming back to the middle of the field and throws just a really terrible pass. And we can see it better from here. You can see where his eyes go too from this angle. He is looking at the safety, it appears, so he does see that safety drop into the middle of the field. He's got to know he has that go route on the opposite on the right side. He could have had maybe a Kmet here, but he tries to throw it to Mooney, and it was just a terrible throw. So bad decision by Justin Fields there. Not again. That any deep pass like that is a difficult pass, but that's the right read in that situation, and the ball should have been. Okay, so on to another good play. This is another time that the Bears ran just a two-man route. So we have 8 guys blocking on this play. Equanimous St. Brown eventually leads out in the flat as a check down, but this is a two-man route. Surprisingly, not maybe unsurprisingly, despite having a two-man route with 8 guys blocking, the Commanders are still able to get a key hit on Justin Fields. But this isn't an offensive line breakdown. This is a quarterback breakdown, so we're focused on that. So again, two-man route. Got kind of like a comeback route at the top of the screen here from Mooney, and then you have a big route over the middle of the field from Dante Pettis on the other side of the field. Other side, Kmet's going to come in motion here, but he's going to be blocking with Equanimous St. Brown here. As I mentioned, St. Brown will eventually leak out into the flat there as a check down. But Fields is going to go to Mooney here, and the reason I have this in here, it's a pretty easy pitch and catch. But the reason I have this in here is because the throw with anticipation from Fields, to throwing the ball before Mooney gets out of his break, and a really good throw too. So you see Mooney at the bottom of the screen here. The Commanders are kind of in a cover 4 look. Context there. But you can see the defender at the bottom of the screen that's closest to Mooney. He has his back to the sideline. He's has his hips already turned. He's just making sure that Mooney does not beat him. Mooney knows that. Fields knows that, and you can see right. Let me try and pause this at the right time. This is when Justin Fields has started his motion. He has started to throw the ball. You can see where Mooney is right kind of in the back pocket of that defender. That's perfect. That's exactly where you want to be, right in his blind spot. He's just going to cut open right here. It appears to be a really easy pitch and catch, but just a really nice route by Mooney. Really nice of Fields to throw before his guy is open. He doesn't do that very often. At least we haven't seen that very often. Even not so much last year, not so much this year either. But it's nice to see here. You can see, as I mentioned, he started his throwing process already. The Mooney has still not gotten even into his break yet. Starts the break and just a perfectly thrown ball right where it needs to be for a big game. Other thing I want to point out on this play, I'm going to show from this angle. This has nothing to do with Justin Fields, but this is one of my favorite snaps from our guy Teven Jenkins here. So you can see here, ball is hiked. He really has no one to block. So what's he going to do? Is he's going to go be looking for work, and he's going to push that defender who Larry Borom's blocking, get him on the ground. Just really love seeing that. But if we look at this from a quarterback standpoint, we can see Justin Fields' eyes get the play action. I don't know why the Bears don't run more play action. When Fields runs play action, he's incredible. His quarterback rating goes up, his touchdowns go up, his interceptions go down, his completion percentage goes up. We need to start running play action. You can see he was looking at Mooney the entire way. And just a really nice throw right where it needs to be. Not to the sidelines and forces Mooney out of bounds, right to where it needs to be, where you can actually turn up field and get a couple extra yards here. So really nice play. Really like seeing that from Fields. The anticipatory throws is something that I really want to see more of. All right. So this is another good one. I don't have the same amount of good clips and bad clips, so I need to do back-to-back good ones here, but I don't think anyone's going to complain about that. So this is another good play for the Bears. I include these ones kind of back-to-back because they're very similar concepts. So you have Darnell Mooney going in motion. You have the defender running with him, so that's showing man coverage. Not sure if they're exactly playing man coverage, but that's what they showed. So this route is another two-man route combination. So the Bears, as I mentioned, ran a lot of two-man routes, a lot of max protections, and for good reason, because the offensive line, when asked to block in true pass sets, were getting annihilated. So you have Darnell Mooney at the top here, running the deep crosser, and then you have, he gets a little bit deeper. But again, like that, and then you have Dante Pettis going to come back route in the middle of the field. As I mentioned, it's a two-man route, so you have the play action outside zone. You got the defensive line and offensive line moving down this way. You have Equinemius Sam Brown blocking, and then, as I mentioned, it's a play action, so you do have Dave Montgomery down there. But essentially, it's a two-man route. You got the deep crosser and the so this is also going to get Justin Fields out. It's not necessarily a rollout because you have two routes going on the left side of the field, but he is going to kind of move the pocket a little bit for him and get him a nice, easy throwing lane. What's going to happen here is they take Mooney away, and he's going to go to Dante Pettis over the middle. But the reason I like this, and let's actually play it because it'll be easier to describe it as it's going. I hope that doesn't pop up anymore. Windows. So you got the crosser, and then you got the curl in the middle of the field right now. So you have this linebacker in front of the curl. You have this guy on the outside of the curl, and you have this linebacker in front of the curl. So if Fields just throws the ball right now to that guy, to Pettis, maybe it's completed. There's probably a window there. But it's if it is completed, it's just going to end right there. He's going to get tackled. If it is even completed at all, it could also be intercepted. It could be knocked down. It could be an incomplete pass. But what I like he does here, and it seems like him and Pettis are on the same page, and I don't believe that this was a design concept, but he throws the ball kind of behind this linebacker here. Pettis is going to catch it on the move and then be able to turn upfield. And I don't believe this is designed. I think that's just two guys improvising and two guys on the same. It is really nice to see Fields on the same page with one of his wide receivers. So you can see he stops in the middle of the field. I don't believe this is a designed situation. But he throws the ball to the outside there, and look how much room Pettis has now to run. Doesn't get a ton of yards after the catch, but does get some, and turns that play from nothing into something. There you go. You can see the play action. You have Economist St. Brown and Cole Kmet blocking. There you go. Pettis is right there. Maybe, yeah, even from this angle, I don't think he could have thrown that ball and completed it if he threw the ball kind of just like on point right here. Maybe the linebacker gets it. Maybe that safety or the cornerback breaks that up. From this angle, I think I could say it was a good decision not to throw there. But he does have a lot of room to throw this area, kind of behind that linebacker. That's exactly what they do. And both guys are on the same page there. Right when Fields started his windup, Pettis started to break in that way. So that's just really nice to see him on the same page with one of his wide receivers, because he hasn't been on the same page with Mooney a lot. We'll get into that. I have one example later there. So it's just nice to see. Good job of throwing a guy open. He wasn't open, but he threw a guy open, and that's something you really want to see going forward from Justin. All right, unfortunately, we gotta go back to a bad one. This was a play. This is the Justin Fields interception, the ball that went off the helmet. Everyone knows it. And this is a play that I defended Justin Fields on. I don't think it's an egregious error on his part to throw that ball to Kmet. Kmet was open. He was the first read in Justin Fields' progression, and he was open. So I don't mind him throwing the ball to Kmet at all. I don't even if the ball hits a helmet and Bop jumps up into the air and it gets intercepted. That's a fluke. I don't care what anyone says. That's a fluke. That ball could have easily been, if it's a centimeter or an inch higher, it gets completed. If the ball does deflect off the helmet, most of the time that's going to end in an incompletion. Just bad luck that it ended in an interception. But I do think, given the way that Washington was lined up, did have probably an easier throw for a touchdown that he doesn't go to. So you have Economist St. Brown come in motion. And no one moves when St. Brown goes in motion. So what part of the reason you send a guy in motion pre-snap is to get a read of what the defense is looking to run. If you have a cornerback go with the wide receiver who goes in motion, most likely it's man coverage. They could obviously disguise in it, but most likely it's man coverage. If they just shift their linebackers and their corners and everything and their safeties, it's probably zone coverage. So when Economist St. Brown went in motion, no one really moved. So my first reaction at least was, okay, it's zone coverage. But the way they're lining up kind of disproves that. So they have their defensive lineman. They have a pro defensive lineman here. They're obviously rushing the passer. You have this guy here who looks like he's going to be rushing the passer, and he is rushing the passer, but he's lined up. So they essentially have 5 defensive linemen. So, and then you also have, let me play this a little bit more because I want to get them their formation. So he sits there. Okay, so now they're in their formation. Now they're in the formation. So again, you have your 5 defensive linemen. You have this cornerback and this safety backed. That usually means that this cornerback is blitzing. Not always, but that's usually what that means. If you have a safety lined up directly behind a cornerback, this guy's blitzing, and then this guy's taking the guy that the blitzer would have been covering. And that's exactly what happens. So they're bringing 2 extra guys at least. You don't necessarily, so you got 2 guys off the edge, and then you have your 4 defensive linemen. You don't necessarily know what this guy's doing. They could be just in man coverage across the board. 1, 2, 4. This guy could be, standing in the middle of the field. This guy could be blitzing. You don't really know yet. What ends up happening is this guy blitzes, 4 down lineman, passer, and then this guy blitzes. But he could just as easily could have been dropping in the zone and helping this safety with Cole Kmet. But there's no way for Justin Fields to know if that middle linebacker is blitzing. There is a way for him to tell that these 2 guys, and he should have recognized. So we know those 6 guys are blitzing pretty much based on the pre-snap. So then you have, like as I mentioned, just man coverage across the board. 3 defenders on the right, on the trips formation to the right, and then 1 defender, the safety here on Cole Kmet. So if we know that, and we know we have this route combination where you have Darnell Mooney going to the middle, you have Dante Pettis, kind of running just I don't exactly remember what route he's running. He's doing something like that, and then you have Economist St. Brown in the flat, and then over here you have Kmet on the curl route here. So, given that round combination, you know that this guy has to go through all of this. He has to go through 2 guys running routes, and he has to go through 2 of his own guys to get into that flat to cover that route from Eckler St. Brown. That's a difficult assignment for that safety to do. And as you see when we play it, it would have been open if Justin Fields went. You can see number 20 there at the top of the screen for Washington. He has to avoid that corner. He has to avoid that corner. He has to avoid Dante Pettis. Just a lot going on there. That should have been his first read. And that's something I even tweeted out a video saying I don't think this was Justin Fields' fault. But as I watched it more and as I was talking to people, I do realize that this was a bad play from that I was focusing too much on the throw itself, not the pre-snap read. The throw itself, I don't really blame it Justin Fields for an interception off a deflection, but I do blame him for not seeing Equinemius St. Brown on the flat there again. And then going back to the play that actually happened, so he does throw the ball to Kmet here, who I do believe was open. As I mentioned, we weren't entirely sure what this guy was going to do based on the pre-snap read. Is he going to drop back into his zone? Is he going to blitz? Well, he does end up blitzing. So Kmet was open, and we can see that from a little bit easier to see from the other angle. But I do think when the coaches see this play, they're going to be telling him, you got to see how they're lined up, and you got to go with the mismatch. You got to go with the scheme, not so much the mismatch. You have your 6'6" tight end on a safety, so there's the player mismatch, but you have the scheme mismatch at the top of the screen, and that's where you want to go in a situation like this. So if we see this from the other angle, the other thing I do think is, part of the reason this gets deflected is because Sam Mustipher and Lucas Patrick get pushed back so far into him. If this is a better pocket, there's more throwing lanes, this play gets completed. I mean, you can see Kmet is open on this play. If this pass doesn't get deflected at the line, it's probably a touchdown. You can see that even better from the other angle, assuming Cole Kmet actually catches it. But you can see that from the other angle too, that I do believe Cole Kmet was open on this play. He hit his step and threw the ball in rhythm. Probably would have been completed again, but you do have to go to that concept at the top of the screen. I think that's one Justin Fields is going to wish he had back. All right, another good one from Justin Fields. Not a whole lot to say about this one other than this was an incredible throw and an incredible catch. This is the touchdown to Dante Pettis, if you haven't figured that out already. So Bears going to hurry up. Washington's trying to substitute. They get flagged for too many men on the field. They actually have 13 guys on the field. And the Bears are, that's exactly what they were trying to do. They were trying to get Washington in this situation. So they're just running 4 verticals. I'm not even going to draw it up. But you have Dante Pettis at the bottom of the screen who the ball is going to go to. So they get the snap off with 13 guys on the field. And you got 4 verticals. And the Washington's just not in a good look here. You also have, I do believe Justin Fields was looking at this safety, and you have this safety here who's in the middle of the screen with his eyes to the right. That tells Justin Fields to go to the left. And it's just a really good throw. You have Braxton Jones getting pushed right back into his face, and he just throws the ball up. He has a free play. I know people are going to say, oh, he had a free play. He was just throwing the ball up for grabs. But that ball placement is pretty special. How he puts that over the outside shoulder of the receiver, where only the receiver can get it. The cornerback has no chance. If he throws that ball to the inside shoulder, the cornerback has a chance to at least knock it down, potentially even intercept it. But throws it to the outside shoulder with enough space for Dante Pettis to get 2 feet inbounds. Just a really nice throw and catch. I don't get fixated too much on the throws because I know Justin Fields can make every NFL throw that he needs to. More concerned about the processing, the pocket awareness, and everything like that. But you have to give credit when credit is due. Just a really good throw. Really wish Braxton Jones didn't get pushed back into him. But that's a different podcast. So you can see, really nice throw and catch. Again, this is going to be a short one. Not a whole lot to say about that other than really good throw. Justin Fields has all the arm talent in the world. And with his athleticism, all the reason to think he could be something special if he gets the mental aspect down. Okay, one more bad one. This is another one that's going to be pretty quick. This is just a bad throw by Justin Fields. Bad throw by Justin Fields. Dante Pettis should have caught it. But still a bad throw by Justin Fields. And we'll just play. So Dante Pettis in the slot at the top of the screen. Here, he's just going to run an out route. top of the screen running to go. And then you have this much, you just have a lot of room of separation between the defender and Dante Pettis. This is just designed to get a couple of yards. This is on third down, so this is the play right before the fourth down play, the ISM Amir Smith Marset, where he dropped it. That I could just as easily include that play as a good play from Justin Fields because he put the ball right on ISM's numbers and he dropped it. So this is the play right before that. It's third down, 3rd and 11, I believe. They're just trying to get a few yards to make it a more manageable fourth down because at this point in the game it was 4-down territory. So this is exactly what you want. He identifies how far off that cornerback is from Dante Pettis on a quick little out route. And the ball needs to be towards the sideline. And unfortunately, he just leaves that a little bit, leaves it short of that, and Dante Pettis isn't able to bring it in. Now, again, Dante Pettis should have 100% caught this ball, and I do count this as a drop from Dante Pettis, but it just wasn't a good throw either. There's no reason for that ball to be thrown to his inside. You got to throw that towards the sideline, let him catch it, and maybe even turn upfield. Maybe he turns upfield and gets a couple extra yards. Maybe he even gets a first down out of it potentially. But instead, it's a bad throw. Dante Pettis has to come back and adjust to it. So it's just the throw you got to make. It's incredible that he can make that throw that I just showed, the deep pass to Dante Pettis for a touchdown, and then miss this easy throw, easy pitch and catch. You can see how long of his stride is here. That's a really long stride. That's something he's been wanting to work on to get that stride a little bit more compact, solidified, and just a bad throw. Again, Dante Pettis has to come up with it. It would have made it a lot easier fourth down. But a throw to the sideline allows Dante Pettis to maybe get some run after the catch and makes it just an easier catch for Pettis as well. All right, so last one. This is the last play of the game to Darnell Mooney. And Benjamin Solak on Twitter did a great breakdown of this. I retweeted it if you haven't seen it. He breaks this down perfectly, so I'm going to try and do that justice. Benjamin Solak knows 1,000 times more about football than I do. So if you haven't seen that, make sure to check that out. Again, I'm going to try and kind of make the same points that he did because it's pretty easy read here, but I would definitely try and search that out. Benjamin Solak on Twitter, at Benjamin Solak. All right, so this the last play of the game. This is fourth down. Need to score a touchdown here, obviously. So you have Darnell Mooney running a whip route here, so he's going to pick inside, go back to the outside. It's difficult to run the whip route, so they're on like the 5.5 yard line. So that's a long developing whip route. Usually you want to run that just like a 2-3 yards and then to the outside. But you do have what you have here is you have man coverage down below on a whip route. That's exactly what Fields wants to attack. It's exactly where Fields attacks. You don't necessarily know what you have at the top of the screen here. Yeah, you have this guy on, this guy here, and then you don't know exactly. They could be running zone, they could be running man. You don't know what they're running here. I know a lot of people. There were some screenshots going around Twitter, which were pretty debunked quickly by most of the people on the internet, so that's good. But there were people who saw David Montgomery here and thought, if he throws that, he has a touchdown. But that's, again, his fifth read or fourth or fifth read in the progression. It's just not realistic. Again, you don't know what pre-snap, you really didn't know what defense Washington was running. Maybe they're running zone and this guy's going to sit in the flat. It's not like he could identify that and say, oh, Darnell Mooney's going to, David Montgomery's going to be open. Just don't know that information. What you do know is that you have one-on-one coverage here with your best receiver on their best corner, and you have to take a shot on that play. And it actually works. Justin Fields makes a good throw. Another thing that Benjamin Solak pointed out was they made this play more difficult than it needed. So because you have Justin Fields under center, he has to turn his back to the defense. Again, he's not able to read what defense these guys are running post-snap because his back is to them. So again, this play, if you put Fields in shotgun, maybe then he can identify that this safety is covering this running back, and maybe then he can throw that swing route and you get a touchdown. But because his back's to the play, he has no way of diagnosing that. He has to go to this guy, which he should have anyway, because it was the right decision. But you can see, as I mentioned, Darnell Mooney isn't really able to get into the end zone. This is fourth down. You need a touchdown here. He has to run the whip route kind of. He's breaking at 2-3 yards or 5 yards. That's what he should be doing. But that's just where they were on the field. But Fields does a good job of putting touch on this pass and putting it where his receiver can make a play. Fortunately, I think how this story ends. The ball hits Darnell Mooney right in the hands, and Mooney's just got to come up with that. And Mooney will be probably the first person to tell you that he's got to come up with that. He does. It's a touchdown, and the Bears win the game. Unfortunately, he bobbles it, and we get. It is still technically a completion, but Washington gets the ball at the half-yard line. You got to come down with that. If he comes down with that cleanly, but a good decision by Justin Fields. That whole Dave Montgomery thing, screenshot. I think we should take this as a moment to just tell everyone and remind everyone to stop taking screenshots of plays and saying this guy was open. If you want to post the whole video and say this guy's open, sure, but stop taking screenshots of plays, especially when we don't know the progression all the time and everything like that. So just a good reminder there. So, but yeah, this should have been a catch by Mooney. Should have been a touchdown. Should have been a Bears win. All right, that's all I got. Obviously, there were more good things that Fields did, more bad things that Fields did, but I didn't want to have a 2-hour podcast. Some good things that Fields did that I didn't have videos of, I didn't want to show. He did a really good job with his legs, as he always does. I think people take that for granted because he does it so much, but the way he's able to escape pressure and make something out of nothing is a really nice play. And I know people are going to talk about Justin Fields' sack percentage because he is taking sacks at a pretty high rate. But running quarterbacks, or I shouldn't say running quarterbacks who can run are always going to have a higher sack percentage than other non-athletic quarterbacks who are going to throw the ball away. I don't necessarily want Justin Fields throwing the ball away the first time he gets pressure in his face because he can do so much stuff with his legs, and that's just taking away a skill that he has and a dominant skill that he has. So he's going to be taking some sacks sometimes that maybe he shouldn't have taken, but you don't want him to just check down, or maybe you do want him to check down, but you don't want him to just throw the ball away just to throw the ball away. Let him make a play with his feet. If you take away Justin Fields can be a really good thrower of the football, but if you take away Justin Fields' ability with his legs, he's just an average quarterback at best. So you need to let him do his stuff with his legs, and he did that a lot in this game, turning something into nothing, escaping pressure, and turning a 5-yard sack, minus 5-yard sack into a 5-yard gain. That's huge. He did a really good job in this game. He's done that a really good job his entire career, and I want him to continue to do that as well. Other bad things too, some other things he missed, but at that point, just nitpicking. But overall, I'm still encouraged by Justin Fields. I think shown progressions from the start of the year. It's a brand new scheme. We're in week 6 of a brand new scheme. He's shown enough for me to think that he can do it. He's just got to be more consistent. And plays he missed in this game were plays he made in the last game. Progression's not always linear, so it's not like, oh, he did it once, he's going to do that every time for the rest of his career. He's just got to get more consistent. I think he can do it. I have no reason to believe Justin Fields isn't the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. Hopefully the regime thinks the same way. But that's kind of where I'm at. I hope everyone agrees. If you don't agree, leave a comment. I'd love to hear people's thoughts. Follow me on Twitter. Tweet at me. Tell me I suck at this and I should stop. I don't care. I just like talking with people about the Bears. So whatever you do. Also, if you want to, please share, like and share the pod. Subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate everyone's support. Again, this podcast is brought to you by BetUS. Make a deposit, get a 125% bonus. I'll put the link in the description here. But yeah, that's it for today. We're going to have more of these going forward. Thanks everyone for support, and I will talk to you soon. Bear down, everyone.